everyone, and welcome back. Or if you haven't watched my videos before, then welcome for the very first time. It has been a little while since my last recap video. My last one was back in May, and apparently I've been working on quite a lot since then. But today is also a little bit special because it has now been almost about 2 years since I started coloring and began sharing my creations on Instagram. And it is also almost 1 year since I started posting here on YouTube. So I really wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you. When I first started sharing my coloring, I wasn't even sure whether anybody would care about little old me and my creations. But the kindness, encouragement, and support I received from all of you have genuinely touched my heart. This little creative community has become so much more meaningful to me than I ever expected. And it is incredibly heartwarming to know that there are people out there who enjoy following along with what I create. So thank you for watching, for leaving such lovely comments, and for being part of this journey with me. It truly means more than you probably realize. And now I have some finished coloring pages to share with you, several works in progress, a few pages that I have taken some unexpected turns, and also a little bit of art outside my coloring books. Some of these projects you may already recognize from my color alongs, videos or Instagram, while others haven't really been shown probably yet. So make yourself comfortable and let's have a look at everything I've been coloring and creating since my last recap. So let's start with the finished pages first. The first finished page I want to share is my bird bath page from Little Folk by Christine Karron. For this page, I used a mixture of Faber-Castell watercolors, a little bit of gouache for the highlights, and colored pencils, mainly polychromos and Prismacolor. My favorite part is definitely the soft light coming through behind the trees and around the bird bath itself. I really like the warm glowing feeling it gives to the center of the page, and I think it helps draw attention toward the fairy and the birds. The part I'm least happy with is probably the trees. They didn't quite turn out the way I had imagined, and looking at them now, I think I would approach them a little differently. But that is also part of coloring and experimenting. Not every part of a page has to become exactly what we picture for us to still enjoy the finished result. This page was also a full color along here on my channel, so if you would like to see how I created it or perhaps color the page along with me, I will leave a little link to the complete series in the description below. The next finished page is my Cowgirl Mermaid, also from Little Folk. I started this one for Mermaid, and it was actually my first time participating in Mermaid after almost 2 years of coloring. I used a mixture of watercolor, polychromos, and Prismacolor. I'm actually really happy with this page as a whole. I love the color palette, especially the combination of the pink hair, the turquoise water, and the warmer golden brown shades. I also really like how the water turned out. It has that soft, slightly dreamy underwater feeling I was hoping for. And of course, I absolutely love Waffles, her little seahorse companion. He somehow became Waffles while I was making the color along, and once he had that name, there was really no going back. I'm also very happy with her blue shirt and all the little folds and shimmering details. The one part I'm not quite as happy with is the sparkle on her tail. I'm not sure it blended into the tail as naturally as I had hoped, so I might approach that differently another time. But overall, I really liked this page and had so much fun creating it. This one is also a complete color along here on my channel, and I'll leave a link to the full series in the description if you would like to watch it or color along with me. The next finished page is from Blossomnia by Reyes. For this one, I used Uhuhu markers to create the base layers and then added more depth, texture and details with my Prismacolor and Polychromos pencils. I also used the white Posca pen for the little sparkles and highlights. My favorite part is definitely the seaweed dress in the middle. I think the deep green colors and the long flowing shapes make her look almost like some kind of evil seaweed queen, and I really love that. I also like all the tiny sparkles because they add a little bit of underwater magic to the page. The part I'm least happy with is the light coming down from the top left corner. I was trying to make it look like beams of sunlight shining through the water, but I don't think it became quite as believable as I had hoped. It was an interesting thing to experiment with, though, and I know I have a better idea of what I might do different next time. I didn't film the process of creating this page, so this one isn't a color along. It was simply a page of work done quietly in my own time. The next finished page is also from Blossomnia, and I have to say I really love this one. I colored it with Prismacolor and Polychromo pencils, and I also used a little bit of yellow Posca pen for some of the small details. My favorite is definitely the iris dress in the middle. I love the soft pale colors, the folds in the petals, and the way it almost seems to be stepping forward into the light. I'm also really happy with the background. The warm glow in the center and the dark dusty mauve around the edges make the flowers look as though they are walking onto a little stage. There is something about it that reminds me of those old Disney cartoons where Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, or Pluto would be performing on a stage, perhaps with someone playing a piano in the background. I'm not even sure exactly which cartoon I'm remembering, but the page gives me that same old-fashioned theatrical feeling, and I absolutely love it. This wasn't a full color along, but I did share the process across a small series of reels on Instagram. I will put the link in the description below. The next finished page is this little mouse and berry scene from Walk in the Woods by Leila Duly. And I really love this one too. I used Neocolor 2 for the base layers and atmosphere, and then added the details, textures, and deeper shadows with colored pencils. I really enjoyed coloring this one from beginning to end. One of my favorite details is actually outside the original circle. The tiny footsteps and the berries that looks as though they have fallen out of the scene. The area around the circle had become a little dirty while I was working, so I was trying to think of a way to hide it or at least distract from it. That is how I came up with the idea of letting the mouse's story continue beyond the border. And what started as a way of solving a small problem ended up becoming one of my favorite parts of the entire page. I think those little additions make the scene feel more playful, as though the mouse has been wandering around, collecting berries and leaving tiny clues behind. I also shared this one as a series of small reels rather than a full color along, and I will also put the links to this one in the description. And the final finished piece I want to share is this black tulip. This one isn't from a coloring book. I followed a tutorial by Emma Tildesley on her Patreon. I used Prismacolor pencils for almost the entire flower with just a few tiny touches of acrylic paint for the brightest highlight. I was a little bit worried because I didn't have any good paper like the one Emma was working on. I used paint on multi-purpose paper, which was some fairly inexpensive paper I already had, but I really love how it turned out. I like the entire flower, the deep reds, the greens, and especially that more colorful area on the right where the light seems to catch the petals. More than anything, I think I love the fact that I was actually able to create something like this. It turned out much better than I expected, especially considering that I was working on fairly inexpensive paper. Following this tutorial made me realize that perhaps I am capable of creating more artwork outside my coloring books. It gave me a little more confidence in what I might be able to do. And for that reason, this piece feels especially meaningful to me. Moving on to my ongoing projects, this is Amber from Wildflower Folk by Christine Karron. She is part of an ongoing color along here on my channel, and she is actually very close to being finished now. I'm especially happy with her cape and her dress. I love the soft pale fabric against the much deeper turquoise background. There should only be one final part of the color along. In that video, I'm planning to add all the finishing touches and go back into areas such as her hair and skin to add a little more depth and refinement. I'm also considering adding a few roses to the background, although I haven't completely decided yet. I want to look at the page again before I commit to anything and see what it still needs. The next work in progress is Angel Eyes, also from Wildflower Folk. This one isn't a color along. She has mainly been a quiet project that I worked on in my own time. So far, I used Neocolor 2 together with colored pencils, and I really like how she is turning out. I especially like the feathers and all the different shades running through them. There's still quite a lot left to do, including finishing the rest of her hair and all the feathers surrounding her, but I'm really enjoying seeing her slowly come to life. The next work in progress is from the Forest Girls coloring book by Aeppol, and the illustration is called Together Forever. There's still quite a lot left to color, but I already really love this scene. I like how peaceful it looks with the girl lying together with her dog and the squirrel. Yes, I think it's a squirrel, right? So far, I've mainly been working on the grass and the tree, and I'm really happy with how it is beginning to come together. One thing I'm especially excited about is adding a blanket underneath the girl. The blanket isn't part of the original illustration, so I'll be creating that myself and trying to make it look as though it has always belonged in the scene. I haven't completely decided how every part will look yet, but I think the blanket will add another layer of coziness, and I'm looking forward to seeing whether I can make the idea work. The next work in progress is from Kirby Roseanne's 10-year celebration book. I really haven't gotten very far with this one yet. So far, I've mainly been experimenting with the sky and beginning to establish the atmosphere around the castle. But I do like how it is looking at this early stage, and I think the finished page could become really beautiful. My idea is to create a soft glowing sky behind the castle and then make the castle itself much darker in the foreground. I'm hoping that contrast will make the castle feel dramatic and slightly mysterious, while the light behind it gives the page some warmth and atmosphere. There are so many tiny architectural details still waiting for me, so I think this one may take quite a while, but I'm excited to see where it goes. And then we have what I have been calling my little problem child. This page is from Rita Berman's Das Land der kleinen Abenteuer, which translates roughly as The Land of Little Adventures. I originally started this as a small reel series and posted part 1, but afterward I suddenly decided that I hated it. But looking at it again now, I'm honestly not even sure why, because I actually think it looks really good. I think the problem was that I had imagined trying to color it in something closer to Rita Berman's own style, but once I began, it developed into something very different from the picture I had in my head, and I think that difference disappointed me. Now that I've had some distance from it, I can look at the page for what it actually is instead of what I originally expected it to be. And I really like the soft, colorful, almost glowing houses. So apparently I don't hate it after all. I think I was simply disappointed because it didn't match my original idea. I will probably continue this one and see what it wants to become in my own style. And my final work in progress is this little watercolor study of pears in my watercolor sketchbook. And this one is all my own, no tutorial. I created the composition myself and have simply been experimenting with the watercolor and seeing where it takes me. I'm still very new to painting with watercolor outside coloring books, so I'm really happy with how the pears are coming along. I especially like the fresh green and yellow colors and the way the pears are beginning to feel soft and rounded. There is still plenty I want to develop in the leaves, branch, and surrounding atmosphere, but I think it has a lovely light feeling so far. There are also a few pencil marks near the top of the page that I tried and failed to remove, but honestly, that's okay. This is my sketchbook and those little marks are simply part of the process. Most of all, I'm happy that I came up with this piece myself and that I'm allowing myself to experiment without expecting everything to be perfect. And that is everything I have been working on since my last recap. Before I go, I just want to say thank you again to everyone who watches my videos, subscribes to my channel, leaves such kind comments, and takes the time to interact with what I share. I'm genuinely so grateful for all of your support. Knowing that there are people out there who enjoy seeing my creations and following along with my little coloring and art journey means more to me than I can properly express. I would also love to hear what you have been working on lately, so please feel free to tell me in the comments. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. Take good care of yourself, and I'll see you again in my next video. Bye for now, and happy coloring!